Toyota Vellfire Alphard. If, like me, you hadn't a clue what these things were, I'm going to try and give you a hand, see if I can help you out. So there's two engine options, 2.4 and a 3.5. Economy difference between the two is negligible, I would say, but with the 3.5 you get more power and a proper automatic gearbox versus the CVT. So I would always choose the 3.5 over the 2.4 if available. Color wise, then lots of different colors to choose from. White would be one to avoid, in my opinion, because it can peel. There's a known problem with Toyota paint of that period with white paint peeling. So if you hit it with a power washer, you could take a strip off. So avoid white if possible. From a mechanical perspective, then they're pretty robust. The only thing to think about then really is there's a VVT oil line on the earlier 3.5s that can rupture. They upgraded it to steel as part of a recall. Most should be done by now, but it's worth just double checking if you have an early Alphard or Vellfire with that 3.5 engine. It is timed by chain, so no belt to worry about, and it seems to be, everything else seems to be fairly robust in them. There has been one or two notices of gearbox issues with the 3.5, mainly due to the torque and the fact that it can twist the main shaft in the case of the gearbox, and what it does is then it causes some aluminium swarf to get into the oil and knackers the gearbox. So just, it's something to think about. I haven't actually seen anybody have that issue here in the UK, so it's maybe just a very rare thing that happens in the States. Otherwise, I mean, pretty reliable, as you would expect from a Toyota. On this particular car, I had to change the tires. Even though they were pretty good tread, they were all twisted up, and the thing was driving really strangely. And I took it in for an alignment, and we decided that we would rotate the tires around to see what happened. And the way it pulled swapped. So the tires, despite them being pretty new tread, I think just got roasted in Japan. So swapped them, and that made a massive difference. The other thing then that I've had to do was I changed the brake fluid. So I'm pretty handy on the spanners here, so I was able to do that myself. Not a big job to do for any mechanic, and it made a huge difference to the way the brakes felt. And I also stuck new pads and discs in the front and new pads in the rear. It's all pretty normal stuff, nothing complicated or unusual to do it. Took me a couple of hours to sort out. The other thing then was the rear axle bushes on this one were cracked and dozed. Even though it passed MOT, I just went ahead and got them changed. I did that myself. It's a bit of a job. You have to drop the axle down to take them out. The parts themselves are quite cheap, but labour wise it's pretty intense. There's a good few hours work on it. You're going to get some mechanics that are going to suck their air through their teeth and say, well, I haven't worked on one of these before. It is essentially a Toyota Serena rear end, so it's not something particularly complicated, and I was able to figure it out, but you know how it is. Just worth bearing in mind. So that's all I've done. I did do a rear spring spacers because I do tow a lot and carry heavier loads than perhaps the van was originally designed for. Just some rubber spacers in there just to keep the springs from bottoming out. That was it. So when we get into it then, the options wise, then they come with two different interior colours, beige or black. So this is black, obviously. And they all come with the wooden trim, which is, I don't think it photographs as well as it looks in the flesh. I think, you know, when you see them in the flesh, actually it doesn't look quite as garish as perhaps it might look on photos. So I don't mind it. And obviously there's some wood in the steering wheel there as well. This particular car has electric seats. Some come with manual, and that means that the driver's side then has memory function on it as well. So it's 3 memory options there for the driver's seat. There is also an electric footrest. So this footrest here at the front comes in and out electrically if you need it, which is quite a nice feature on these, so a bit more relaxing for the passenger for those longer journeys. They are equipped with sliding doors. I think some have 1 and some have 2 sliding doors, so just make sure that you have sliding doors each side. in my opinion, it's a good feature to have. You can operate them on the key, you can operate them on just pulling the handle, and also there's a couple of switches in the console there to operate the doors. So great job for letting the kids in and out car parks and stuff. This one, as you can see, has got 2 captain seats in the middle row. I think you can get a middle row bench as well. So captain seats middle row means it's a 7-seater. The bench means it's an 8-seater. I don't know about Isofix in the bench, but certainly these 2 captain seats have Isofix. The rear row has no Isofix at all. But you know, if you can get away with 2, that's great. The other nice thing then is you can get access to the rear through the sliding door without interfering with these seats. So you've got access to slip in there. I can get in there, kids can get in there, so it's no problem. These seats also slide in and out, so if you want them closer together for whatever reason, you can do that, which would allow you then to slide them a much further back. These will slide right to the backs of the front seats for space, and then the backrests will also move electronically. And again, these have footrests down here. It's very slow, but you see what I mean. So these pop out for the kids, and then they also have footrests here too, so you can pop that down, stick your feet on them if you want. So very, very good for the children. Obviously they're beside themselves with excitement in using this. We also have a flip down screen in the rear then, so longer journeys you can stick YouTube on or whatever for the rear. This particular car has a Android head unit in it. Some are upgradable and some are not. I think if you have a Vellfire Alphard with the premium sound system, the one with the extra speakers, that's not so easy to upgrade because there's amplifiers and stuff there. Whereas the more basic models, you can stick an Android unit in, and then you have CarPlay and Android Auto and all sorts there. So it instantly upgrades the interior and modernizes everything as well. Then moving on to the rear, I have the seats all flipped down. They do flip up out of the way too. Excuse the mess. So this rear row can slide and can also flip up. So you can flick these backs forward and then flip the seats up out of the way. And then you can slide the 2 captain seats forward as well. So effectively you have a load area, I guess equivalent to maybe a Berlingo, or maybe a little bit bigger than that. It's enough for me to get a Vespa in the back, which is great, and also useful for moving sofas and all that kind of stuff around. So very versatile. You can take the seats out altogether. But it's not a quick and easy job. You have to break the spanners out essentially and remove them. You can see also then there's air vents and lights for each passenger. There's ambient lighting there. Those 2 light bars are on with the doors closed, although you can disable them if you want. And everybody gets a couple of cup holders as well. So there's plenty of cup holders around the car if needed. And then between those 2 captain seats, you can flick that table up in the middle. And again, there's more cup holders in there too. So if you're not needing ready access to the rear, you can flick that up, and then the 2 kind of middle row users have a table between them. Normally I would have the seats flicked out of the way to give him more boot space, but just for this video I've got them down. Tailgate then is electric. You can see here I've also fitted a tow bar. So I have a track car that I tow, which is about 1,500 kilos all in, and this does a great job in towing that. They weren't initially designed for a tow bar, however you can get them online. Not a difficult job to do. I did it myself, and I think the only thing you need to be conscious of is just that gearbox and not being too hard on it. So just gentle takeoffs and stuff, just to keep good care of that. So options wise then, this one hasn't been loaded with a lot of options, but has a few bits and pieces. It has the pole auto, which is basically a pole comes out of the bumper to help you with parking. AFS, which is the headlights that turn with the steering, which is quite good. They do come with HID headlights as well. So lighting's really good for the age of the car. They all come with automatic gearbox, and they all have English. So this is something that probably nobody ever talks about. All of the dials and buttons and stuff are in English. So the only thing that will be in Japanese is the head unit, which I've obviously changed. But you can see here, you know, how to turn the heating on and move the vents around and stuff, all in English, which is useful. So there's no guessing there or trying to use a translator. That's it. I think, I mean, I'll give you a really quick overview. I would say that, when it comes to importing it, I just used an agent, and the guy had one sitting. He actually had half a dozen of them sitting, so I was able to choose. You need to convert them to miles per hour. There's obviously import duties and taxes to pay on them too, if you're doing it yourself. And then they need a rear fog light too. This car has a fog light in place of the rear reflector, so I'll need to add a rear reflector for MOT. A lot of people will undersseal them. In my opinion, and don't take this as gospel, but in my opinion, I don't really see the need for undersealing them. They are galvanized from the factory. They have stone chip from the factory. They're not like a Mazda Bongo or whatever that essentially dissolves on the ferry, on the boat and the way across. So they're built as any other Toyota of its time has been built. I've had a few others, and they seem to be built in the same way with the same kind of sealants and stuff used. So I haven't undersealed it. I have applied a lanolin based product just to keep the fixings and whatnot free of corrosion, because it was like brand new underneath when it arrived. It was absolutely remarkable how clean it was underneath, and I just wanted to keep it that way. So that's what I've done. But I know a lot of other people kind of blast it with wax oil and stuff. I just wasn't keen on that. The other thing then as well is the odometer. So I've just kept it in kilometers. I think there's a risk of confusion there if you move from kilometers to miles when it's already got 60,000 kilometers in the clock, and then you're into trying to figure out what's the true mileage. I didn't want any of that, so we kept it in kilometers. It does mean things like your fuel economy then is litres per kilometre. So you have to convert that if that's something you're interested in. But it just kept it straightforward for me. The other thing then as well for us in Northern Ireland here is the headlight washers. So HIDs need headlight washers. Unfortunately, there's none from the factory, so that's something I'll have to conjure up for the test. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. If you're thinking about one of these, I think one of the main considerations is the fuel economy and is it suitable. It is 2 ton. It's nearly 300 horse. It's not going to sip the fuel. It does about 20 to 25 to the gallon, I would say, on average. It can get more on a run, so it's not very economical. I don't do big mileage, so it doesn't matter. But it may be different for you. There might be an option to convert it to LPG, perhaps. That's another thing to think of. Another consideration is, have you got somebody nearby to work on it? I do everything myself, so it's not a big deal. But a lot of garages will look at an import and say, not so sure. I don't, haven't worked on one of those before. I don't want to take on these jobs, or they'll price it in such a way that it's obvious that they don't want the work. So just bear that in mind too. If you've got somebody nearby or your importers nearby that can work on these things, great. I think you're off to a fine start. But if you don't, then you need to think about who's going to work on it for you if you're not so handy with the spanners yourself. I've really enjoyed it. I've had it for now about 8 or 9 months, and it's been great. Aside from doing those few wee bits and pieces to it, it's been mechanically, it's been perfect. The kids like it, and it's very comfortable on a run too. So I would highly recommend one. And I think, given all of the other options, all of the other various people carriers available, this is probably the one to go for, in my opinion. just from a reliability perspective and just from the build side of things. So yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments section below, and I would happily try and answer those for you, or if there's any other areas of the car, whatever you need to see, let me know, and I'll try and get a photo for you. All right, well, look, all the best, and have a good day, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.